In the annals of human endeavor, few images are as enduring or as heartbreaking as the lone runner. Exhausted, victorious, his final breath delivers a message that echoes through millennia. Asterisk Nike, we are victorious. Asterisk he gasps before succumbing to the ultimate sacrifice. This is the foundational myth of the marathon, a tale woven into the very fabric of our understanding of ancient Greece, of triumph against impossible odds. It's a story whispered from the battlefields of Marathon, a legend born from the desperate struggle against the mighty Persian Empire, where citizen soldiers stood firm, forging the destiny of Western civilization. But what if the very essence of this iconic story, the dramatic, fatal end of the messenger, is a whisper rather than a shout? A powerful narrative, yes, but one that has overshadowed a far more extraordinary and historically accurate truth. For centuries, we have celebrated a hero whose ultimate sacrifice after the Battle of Marathon cemented his place in legend. But history, much like the winding paths of ancient Greece, is rarely a straight line. Join us as we embark on an epic journey, a meticulous investigation that peels back the layers of myth and legend. From the dusty battlefields of Marathon to the bustling academies of ancient historians, we will challenge the very narrative that birthed the world's most famous endurance race. We will confront the marathon's fatal lie, and in doing so, unravel the true, incredible story of Pheidippides, a messenger whose forgotten achievements are far more monumental than the legend we all know. Prepare to rediscover the real origins of a race that continues to captivate and inspire millions. Imagine a man, sweat-soaked and dust-caked, stumbling through the gates of ancient Athens. His body, ravaged by an impossible distance, is at its breaking point. With a final, guttural gasp, he collapses, his last breath exhaling the single, triumphant word that would echo through millennia. Nike. Victory. This is the foundational image of the marathon, a heroic tale seared into our collective consciousness. It's the story of Pheidippides, a messenger sacrificing everything to deliver the news of a miraculous Greek triumph over the formidable Persian Empire at the plains of Marathon. His dying declaration, a testament to ultimate dedication and sacrifice, has defined the very spirit of endurance, forever linking the marathon to a profound, tragic heroism. But how much of this iconic narrative is true, and how much is a beautifully crafted legend? From that singular, ancient act of heroism, a global phenomenon has emerged. Today, the marathon is not merely a race. It's a crucible of human spirit, a testament to peak physical and mental endurance, captivating millions annually. From the bustling streets of Boston to the historic avenues of London, runners from every corner of the world push their limits across 26.2 miles. It's a journey of personal triumph, often transcending mere competition. This modern spectacle of mass participation, where ordinary individuals become extraordinary athletes, is a direct descendant of that ancient Greek legend. Yet, in our celebration of human tenacity and the collective drive to conquer this monumental distance, have we inadvertently glorified a lie? Has the enduring popularity of the marathon obscured its actual, far more complex origins? The name itself, marathon, is a direct echo from an age almost unfathomable. It's not just a poetic label, but a geographical marker, a specific battlefield in ancient Greece where destiny hung in the balance. The modern race, conceived in the late 19th century for the inaugural Olympic Games, was designed to honor this very event, to pay homage to a singular moment of defiance and unexpected victory. This connection binds us inextricably to the sun-baked plains and burgeoning city-states of over 2.5 millennia ago. While today's marathoners chase personal bests and finish lines, they are perhaps unknowingly running in the footsteps of a deeper, more profound historical narrative. But before we can truly understand the run, we must first understand the conflict that birthed it. To grasp the gravity of Marathon, we must first confront the titanic power that threatened to engulf the Hellenic world, the Achaemenid Persian Empire. By 490 BCE, this colossal empire, founded by Cyrus the Great, stretched from the Indus Valley to the Aegean Sea, from Egypt to Central Asia. Its might was unprecedented, a vast, meticulously organized war machine commanded by King Darius I, capable of fielding armies tens of thousands strong. This was an empire built on conquest, its expansionist ambitions seemingly limitless. For the nascent Greek city-states, fiercely independent and often at odds with each other, Persia represented an existential threat unlike any they had ever faced. The very idea of challenging such an overwhelming force seemed utterly, suicidally mad. Against this backdrop of imperial might stood Athens. Not a kingdom, not an oligarchy, but a radical, fledgling democracy, barely a generation old. It was a city-state where citizens debated laws, where philosophy flourished, and where revolutionary ideas of self-governance were taking root. This wasn't merely a city. It was an experiment, a beacon of a new way of life in a world dominated by absolute rulers. Persia's desire for conquest wasn't just about territory. It was about crushing this defiant spark of freedom, extinguishing an ideology that challenged the very notion of imperial divine rule. Athens, unique and vulnerable, found itself directly in the crosshairs of the world's greatest superpower, its radical ideals deemed a dangerous contagion. The Persian Empire's patience had worn thin. In 490 BCE, King Darius I launched his punitive expedition, not just against Athens, but also against Eretria, another Greek city that had dared to support an Ionian revolt. A massive fleet, laden with cavalry and infantry, sailed across the Aegean, its objective clear: humble these defiant city-states and reassert Persian dominance. The Persian commanders, Datis and Artaphernes, chose the Bay of Marathon as their landing site, a broad, flat plain ideal for deploying their cavalry, just 26 miles from Athens. The arrival of this colossal force sent shivers of terror through the Greek world. The shadow of imminent invasion fell heavily upon Athens, creating a desperate, almost hopeless situation for its citizens. Athens knew it was outmatched. Facing the full might of the Persian Empire, they recognized that to stand alone was to invite certain annihilation. Survival depended on allies, and there was one city-state whose legendary warriors were considered the finest in Greece: Sparta. It was a desperate gamble. To reach Sparta, nestled deep in the Peloponnese, required an extraordinary effort. This wasn't just a request for aid. It was a plea, a race against time, over rugged mountains and treacherous paths. It is here, in this moment of profound crisis, that history gives us the first account of a truly epic long-distance run, a real messenger, not simply a myth, whose journey would set the stage for one of history's most pivotal battles. Our understanding of these pivotal events, from the Persian advance to Athens' desperate plea, largely rests on the shoulders of one man, Herodotus of Halicarnassus. Writing around 440 to 430 BCE, only decades after the events unfolded, Herodotus meticulously compiled his histories, documenting the Persian wars with an unprecedented level of detail and inquiry. He traveled widely, interviewed eyewitnesses, and diligently recorded conflicting accounts, earning him the title Father of History. While his work isn't without its biases or occasional embellishments, it remains our most comprehensive and invaluable primary source. To unravel the fatal lie of the marathon, to separate fact from enduring fiction, we must turn to the man who first tried to make sense of these monumental clashes, giving us the raw material of truth. Our journey to unravel the myth begins not with a dying hero, but with an extraordinary act of endurance that did happen, meticulously recorded by the father of history, Herodotus. As the formidable Persian fleet approached the shores of Attica, in 490 BCE, the Athenians, facing imminent invasion, dispatched their fastest and most reliable runner, Pheidippides. Not to Athens, but to Sparta. Pheidippides was a hemerodromos, a professional long-distance messenger, and his mission was critical. He ran the arduous 150 miles, approximately 240 kilometers, over rugged, mountainous terrain to Sparta, covering the distance in an astonishing 2 days. His breathless message: "Men of Sparta, the Athenians ask you to help them, and not to stand by while the oldest city in Greece is crushed and enslaved." This was the real, historically verified long-distance run preceding the Battle of Marathon, a desperate plea for aid, not a triumphant announcement of victory. Pheidippides, having pushed his body to its absolute limit, delivered his urgent plea to the Spartan ephors and kings. His message was received, its gravity understood. Yet, aid was not immediately forthcoming. The Spartans, renowned for their military prowess, were also deeply devout, bound by strict religious customs. At that precise moment, the city-state was observing the Carneia, a sacred festival dedicated to Apollo. According to Spartan religious law, their army could not march out for war until the full moon had waned, marking the end of the festival. Despite the existential threat to Athens, the Spartans prioritized their spiritual obligations, a testament to the profound cultural and religious differences between the Greek city-states. This delay meant Athens would face the Persian invasion largely alone, a factor that would profoundly shape the upcoming conflict. With Spartan aid still days away, the Athenians prepared to face the Persian behemoth. Their chosen battleground was the Marathon Plain, a site that would become immortalized. Geographically, it was a strategic marvel, a crescent-shaped expanse nestled between the Pernotam Mountains and the Aegean Sea. Crucially, its northern and southern edges were flanked by impassable marshlands. This unique topography created a natural bottleneck, funneling the vast Persian army into a confined space. It was here, on this constricted plain, that the Athenian forces, outnumbered perhaps 2-1, decided to make their stand. The terrain itself would become an unwitting ally, forcing the Persians to fight on terms unfavorable to their numerical superiority and cavalry tactics, offering the Athenians a glimmer of hope against overwhelming odds. The man who would capitalize on Marathon's strategic geography was Miltiades, an Athenian general of extraordinary tactical genius. Having spent years governing the Chersonese, a region adjacent to the Persian Empire, Miltiades possessed an intimate understanding of Persian military strengths and weaknesses. He knew their formidable cavalry and archers were most effective in open spaces. Facing a numerically superior enemy, Miltiades made a daring decision: to abandon traditional Greek battle formations. Instead of a uniformly deep phalanx, he thinned his center to strengthen his flanks, creating an innovative pincer movement. Furthermore, defying conventional wisdom, he advocated for a direct, aggressive charge against the Persian lines, aiming to negate their archers' advantage and deny their cavalry room to maneuver. It was a calculated risk, a masterstroke of military innovation that would define the battle. On that fateful day, the Athenians, bolstered by a small contingent from Plataea, advanced. Miltiades ordered a charge, a revolutionary tactic that stunned the Persians and reduced the time their archers had to unleash deadly volleys. This was not the legendary marathon run over 26 miles, but a sprint across the kilometer or so of the plain, building momentum. The clash was brutal, a symphony of bronze on iron, shield against sword. The Greek phalanx, a bristling wall of spears and shields, held its ground, particularly on the flanks. The thinned Athenian center initially gave way, drawing the Persian elite further in, only for the reinforced Greek wings to swing inward, trapping the Persians in a deadly embrace. The marathon race was now a bloody melee, a desperate fight for survival where Greek discipline and Miltiades' tactical genius utterly dismantled the vast Persian host. The Battle of Marathon was not just a victory. It was a miraculous survival against staggering odds. As the Persian lines broke, panic set in, and a full rout ensued. The Athenians pursued them relentlessly to their ships, inflicting devastating casualties. Estimates suggest up to 6,400 Persians fell, while the Athenians lost only 192 men. This decisive triumph preserved not only Athens, but, arguably, the nascent concept of democracy itself. Had the Persians won, Athenian democracy would have been crushed and the trajectory of Western civilization profoundly altered. Marathon proved that a free people, fighting for their ideals with strategic brilliance and unwavering courage, could overcome even the mightiest empire. It was a turning point, etching Athenian resolve into the annals of history and inspiring future generations with the true power of an independent city-state. Now, we arrive at the heart of the Marathon's fatal lie. With the battle won and the Persians in retreat, Herodotus meticulously details the immediate aftermath. The Athenians guarding the plain, the burial of the dead, and then the urgent march of the Athenian army back to Athens to defend against a potential Persian sea attack around Cape Saunion. His account is incredibly thorough, covering logistics, casualties, and subsequent maneuvers. Yet, within Herodotus' comprehensive narrative, there is a glaring, profound silence. Not a single mention of a lone runner, collapsing and dying after delivering the message of victory from Marathon to Athens. For the most reliable ancient historian of the Persian Wars, the iconic image of the dying messenger simply does not exist. This absence is not just an omission. It is a fundamental contradiction to the enduring legend. If Herodotus, our primary and most authoritative source for the Persian Wars, makes no mention of this dramatic post-battle run, then where did this powerful, globally recognized narrative come from? The answer lies centuries later, with writers who, in their own time, sought to add dramatic flair or perhaps connect disparate accounts. It wasn't until around 500 years after the Battle of Marathon that the Roman-era Greek writer Plutarch, and later Lucian, recounted the tale of a runner delivering the victory message and dying. Critically, some of these later accounts even mistakenly attributed this post-battle run to Pheidippides, conflating his actual heroic pre-battle run to Sparta with this entirely separate, likely fabricated, victory dash. Thus, a captivating, tragic legend was born, slowly supplanting the historical truth and giving birth to the modern marathon race, founded on a story that, tragically, is a lie. Centuries after Herodotus meticulously recorded Pheidippides' crucial dash to Sparta, the historical landscape shifted, and with it, the narrative surrounding the Battle of Marathon. Later classical writers, eager to embellish or perhaps clarify the accounts, began to introduce new details that would, unknowingly, lay the groundwork for a future myth. One of the most influential was Plutarch, writing in the 1st and 2nd century CE. In his ethical essays and parallel lives, he recounts a post-marathon messenger, sometimes identified as Thursippus of Urkia or Eucles, who ran to Athens to proclaim victory before collapsing and dying. These accounts, emerging hundreds of years after the actual battle, demonstrate a persistent human desire to attribute a singular, dramatic act of sacrifice to the moment of triumph, even if the specifics began to diverge from earlier, more sober histories. It's here we see the first whispers of a new, more tragic ending taking root. While Plutarch's narratives offered a collapsing messenger, it was a satirist from the 2nd century CE, Lucian of Samosata, who is largely credited with forging the iconic, albeit historically unfounded, marathon myth as we know it. In his humorous dialogue, A Slip of the Tongue and Greeting, Lucian presents a fictional exchange where he explicitly names Pheidippides, a figure often conflated with Herodotus' Pheidippides, as the runner who carried the news from Marathon to Athens. Lucian's Pheidippides delivers the triumphant, singular word, Nike, Greek for victory, before dramatically collapsing and dying on the spot. This vivid, poignant image, steeped in ultimate sacrifice for victory, struck a chord. It wasn't historical fact, but compelling fiction. Lucian's witty prose breathed life into a story that perfectly encapsulated the heroism of the moment, creating a narrative so powerful it would transcend centuries to become the cornerstone of a global phenomenon. So, how did a fictional account, born centuries after the fact, come to eclipse the meticulously documented history of Herodotus? The enduring power of Lucian's story lies not in its historical accuracy, but in its profound resonance with universal human themes. The image of the ultimate messenger, pushing past all physical limits to deliver a message of triumph, then making the ultimate sacrifice, death, is incredibly potent. It speaks to our innate admiration for heroism, selflessness, and victory earned at the highest possible cost. This myth embodies the idea that some victories are so significant, so hard-won, that they demand a final, singular act of complete devotion. It's a tale of commitment, sacrifice, and the dramatic flair of a hero's farewell, a narrative far more emotionally compelling than the simple fact of a messenger returning to his duties. This deeply ingrained human appreciation for sacrifice ensured the myth's survival, even as historical truths faded. With the decline of ancient Greece and Rome, the grand spectacles of the classical world, including the Olympic Games and the emerging legend of the marathon messenger, slowly faded into obscurity. For over a millennium, the concept of a dedicated long-distance race commemorating a battle, or indeed, the very idea of athletic competition on a global scale, lay dormant. The Dark Ages and subsequent medieval periods saw different cultural priorities, where scholastic pursuits and religious fervor replaced the celebration of physical prowess. Ancient texts, including those of Herodotus, Plutarch, and Lucian, were preserved, but often within scholarly circles, their narratives detached from any practical application. The compelling tale of the dying marathon runner became a literary curiosity, awaiting a new era, a new sensibility, to be unearthed and given fresh life. The world forgot the glory of the stadium, and the legendary run was relegated to the dusty pages of history. As the 19th century drew to a close, a growing fascination with antiquity, coupled with a belief in the power of physical culture, began to sweep across Europe. At the heart of this revival was a remarkable French nobleman, Pierre de Coubertin, a passionate educator and idealist. Coubertin envisioned a grand international event that would transcend national rivalries and foster peace and understanding through athletic competition. He saw in the ancient Olympic Games a perfect model for his modern dream, a quadrennial festival of human excellence, discipline, and sportsmanship. Coubertin believed that competitive sport could mold character, unite nations, and inspire a new generation. His relentless dedication and persuasive arguments were the driving force behind the most ambitious athletic undertaking in modern history, setting the stage for the rebirth of a global phenomenon that had lain silent for 1,500 years. While Pierre de Coubertin meticulously laid the philosophical and organizational groundwork for the modern Olympics, a critical, imaginative spark was ignited by his close friend and fellow academic, Michel Briel. As a philologist and expert in ancient Greek history, Briel was intimately familiar with the stories surrounding the Battle of Marathon, including Lucian's dramatic tale of the dying messenger. It was Briel who, in 1894, famously proposed to Coubertin that the inaugural modern Olympic Games should include a specific long-distance foot race, tracing the legendary route from the plains of Marathon to the city of Athens. This wasn't merely a race. It was a living homage, a physical reenactment of history and myth combined. Briel's ingenious suggestion transformed a literary anecdote into the core event of the new games, providing a powerful, emotional link to the ancient past and establishing what would become the world's most iconic endurance challenge. The vision of Coubertin and Briel culminated in the spring of 1896. With immense national pride and international cooperation, Athens, the ancient heart of democracy, played host to the first Olympic Games of the modern era. The Panathenaic Stadium, a magnificent marble horseshoe originally built in the 4th century BCE and meticulously restored for the occasion, buzzed with an energy that echoed its ancient past. Thousands of spectators, dressed in their finest 19th century attire, filled the stands, eager witnesses to a historic rebirth. Athletes from 14 nations gathered, not for war, but for peaceful competition, symbolizing the very ideals Kuberin had championed. This grand spectacle marked a new chapter for sport, but also for the enduring legend of marathon. All eyes were on Athens, as the stage was set for an event designed to bridge millennia, the very first modern marathon race. On April 10, 1896, the world watched as Michel Brieux's imaginative proposal became a tangible reality. 17 runners, mostly Greek, lined up at Marathon, ready to tackle the 40-kilometer journey to Athens. The route, dusty and challenging, was a grueling test of endurance, pushing athletes to their absolute limits, just as the legendary messenger was believed to have been pushed. Amidst the cheers of the enormous crowds that lined the course and packed the Panathenaic Stadium, a local Greek water carrier named Spiridon Lewis emerged as the triumphant victor. His dramatic entry into the stadium, his face etched with exhaustion and elation, ignited a wave of national fervor and international fascination. Lewis's victory, fulfilling a mythical journey, cemented the marathon not just as an Olympic event, but as a global symbol of human perseverance, linking the ancient past to the modern athletic spirit and ensuring the fatal lie of Pheidippides would endure forever in the annals of sport. As the curtain rose on the inaugural modern Olympic Games in Athens, 1896, a nation yearned for a hero. The newly conceived marathon race, designed to echo ancient Greek glory, demanded a champion. And it found one in Spiridon Lewis, a humble Greek water carrier from a small village. His face, etched with determination, became a symbol of national pride. As he entered the Panathenaic Stadium, leading the field, a roar erupted from the 80,000 spectators, a sound that transcended time. Lewis, initially an unknown, pushed through exhaustion, fueled by the sheer will to win for his country. His victory was more than a race. It was a reaffirmation of a reborn Hellenic spirit, a direct link to the valor of their ancestors, inspiring generations with a tale of raw human endurance and triumph. While the first modern marathon was run, its distance remained fluid, roughly approximating the legend. It wasn't until the 1908 London Olympics that the quirky circumstances of royalty would permanently alter history. King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra, eager to witness the race start from the comfort of Windsor Castle, requested the route begin on the East Lawn. The finish line moved slightly within White City Stadium to align perfectly with the royal box, added an extra 385 yards. This seemingly minor adjustment stretched the course to an exact 26 miles, 385 yards, 42.195 kilometers. It was a distance famously etched into memory by the dramatic collapse and disqualification of Italian runner Dorando Pietri, solidifying London's arbitrary, yet enduring, contribution to the marathon's definitive length. So, we've journeyed through the modern race's birth and the shaping of its iconic distance. Yet, beneath these factual layers, the shadow of Pheidippides looms large. Despite the historical inaccuracies surrounding his fabled post-battle run, this powerful narrative has irrevocably shaped the marathon's identity. It's the tale of ultimate sacrifice, of courage pushed to the breaking point, a solitary messenger delivering a message of victory at the cost of his own life. This enduring myth, even if partially fabricated, has imbued the marathon with a profound, almost spiritual significance, transforming it from a mere foot race into a crucible of human spirit, a testament to perseverance and the pursuit of a singular, monumental goal. It's a powerful lesson in how an inspiring story can forge an unforgettable legacy. The marathon's journey from a factual military dispatch to a myth of tragic heroism offers a profound insight into the human condition, our innate need for compelling narratives. Societies, from ancient city-states to modern nations, craft their foundational stories, often prioritizing emotional impact over verifiable fact. Why does a story like Pheidippides, a solitary hero running to his death, gain traction and endure for millennia, overshadowing the drier historical accounts of actual military messengers. Because it taps into universal human themes: sacrifice, victory, the fragility of life. These narratives shape our understanding of the past, influence our present values, and become the very fabric of our collective memory, demonstrating that sometimes the better story isn't the truest one, but the one that resonates most deeply within us. So, what can we truly learn from the marathon story, beyond the finish line of a race or the simple debunking of a myth? It's a lesson in historical process itself, how legends are born, evolve, and become entrenched, sometimes replacing truth entirely. It underscores the critical role of endurance, not just on the race course, but in the relentless intellectual pursuit of knowledge and verification. It challenges us to question our assumptions, to dig deeper than the surface narrative, and to understand why certain stories resonate so powerfully. This journey isn't about diminishing the marathon's significance. Rather, it's about enriching it by understanding the complex interplay between verifiable fact, human aspiration, and the enduring power of a compelling, even if flawed, narrative. Ultimately, the marathon's fatal lie is one of history's greatest paradoxes. The idea of a dying runner delivering a message of victory, while historically inaccurate, ignited a spark. It forged a universal symbol of human resilience, pushing physical and mental boundaries. The marathon, born from a misremembered past, stands today as a testament not only to athletic prowess, but to the indomitable spirit of humanity. It's a journey for the body, but also a profound marathon for the mind, challenging us to endure, to strive, and to confront our own limits. The legacy isn't in the precise steps of Pheidippides, but in the millions who run today, chasing their own victories, inspired by a story of courage that, true or not, continues to propel us forward relentlessly. Our journey began with the potent, tragic image of Pheidippides, collapsing after his heroic run from Marathon to Athens. We've traversed the dusty roads of ancient Greece, not just witnessing the legendary battle, but meticulously examining the historical records that tell a profoundly different tale. We've seen how the true Pheidippides, a master hemerodromos, embarked on an unimaginable journey to Sparta before the battle, seeking vital aid. His monumental achievement, often overshadowed, was a testament to endurance, a lifeline thrown across 150 miles of rugged terrain, not a final, fatal sprint after victory. We've explored how centuries later, a combination of classical writers, often more poets than historians, and the fervent visionaries of the modern Olympic movement, sculpted this powerful, yet historically flawed, narrative. They crafted a myth that perfectly encapsulated the ideals of sacrifice, victory, and the indomitable human spirit. And so, the marathon endures. A global phenomenon, a symbol of personal triumph, born from a message that, in its most famous telling, was wrong. Yet, its inspiration is undeniable. The spirit of endurance, the drive to push beyond limits, the collective will to conquer a daunting distance. These resonate more powerfully than ever. The marathon's fatal lie ultimately reminds us of the enduring power of narrative, the responsibility of historical accuracy, and how a legend, however flawed, can still inspire a world to run.